Welcome back to the Jensen Sessions, the space where creativity meets purpose and conversations go deeper than the work itself. I'm your host, Shane Jensen. Today, we're sitting down with someone who has spent more than 3 decades shaping artists, guiding educators, and helping mission-driven creators find their voice in a noisy world. Shannon Kropf is a music educator, a creative strategist, a curriculum builder, and music director. Her philosophy of conscious creativity has touched thousands of students and creators across the US and Europe. Today, we get to explore the story behind that impact. Settle in. This is a conversation about art, identity, and the courage to build something meaningful. Well, welcome back to the Jensen Sessions. And today I am especially pleased to have someone I have known for a short while, but feels like I've known them for a long while because she truly is a compassionate, talented individual who does so many things for so many people. And so today I am pleased to welcome Shannon Kropf to the Jensen Sessions. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi, Shane. Thanks so much for having me. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Great. It's great. It's great to have you. And, one of the things that we share in common is that we're both music directors, and
Yes.
we both music directed in musical theater, and we both have done it in the ministry environment. And so, for those who may not know much about you, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself and how music has really impacted your life?
Oh my gosh. My life would be totally different without music. And just this morning I was thinking like, oh, what have I done with music in my life? And then I thought, oh my gosh, look at this list. This is incredible. Um, Thankfully I've had a lot of great opportunities, is kind of what it boils down to. But I gotta tell you that this all started for me when I was a small child, pre-kindergarten. And, I used to listen back in the day, this was back in the '70s, we had records of, like, Disney shows like Robin Hood, for instance,
Oh, yeah,
and
great.
you remember those?
I
Like,
do, absolutely, love them.
I think I can still sing them to you. But I would my parents would put those on when I went to bed every night, and I remember laying in bed, I couldn't have been more than 5 years old, and I was trying to go to sleep and the music would be going and I would pretend like I was conducting a choir. Who does
Yeah.
that at 5 years old?
Right, no, yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I came up through the university system. I was a flute major, which doesn't help with keys for theater, but, had just fantastic opportunities, did a lot of worship leading, have been involved in musical theater since oh my gosh, the '80s, mid-'80s? I mean,
Yeah,
I was still a kid, thankfully, my dad got interested in community theater,
right,
and was way into it and did a whole lot with our community theater, and that's the way I became introduced to theater specifically.
right.
Um, and I started playing flute when I was in high school and did years and years in the orchestra, but I always knew that there was another thing for me, and
Sure, yeah.
that was the music directing, so
And so did
that's where I'm
you
at.
when you were in high school, you mentioned, was this your first experience with, musical theater, and so did you get to play in the orchestras, or what role did you play in your high school productions? And what was your
Gotcha.
first production?
My first production, I was, I think, 11 or 12-ish, was Annie Get Your Gun, and I was in just the chorus, I'm a street kid running around, whatever, and that was super fun, and I think, the reason I switched over to sitting in the orchestra later on as I got a little older, um still in high school, I I was a talented player. And, flute, especially back in those days. This is back in the day when we were opening. We didn't have these, these great books
Yeah.
that I about fell out of my chair when I got this one, and Concord said, "Oh, you can make marks in it. It's fine. They're going to
That's
take them back, but
relatively
they're going to
new.
shred them."
Yeah.
It's to me, it's still like a Christmas gift that I can
Yeah,
mark up
no
my
doubt.
own score. But, I started back in the day when they were all the handwritten, like, vellum?
Ugh.
I don't know what kind of paper that was, but it was beefy. And they were impossible to read, and you just kinda had to, "Okay, I guess this is a run in F major. Let's go for it and find out."
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So, anyway, that continued on when I went to college. I did a lot of work with, Lee's McRae Summer Stock Theater, which is a pro summer stock up in the mountains of North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's
That's that
me
that's
in a
that's very
nutshell.
it is amazing because I can totally understand where you're coming from because I used to go through I don't know how many erasers at the end of a show, frantically
Oh,
erasing scores
and do you remember
and
you'd always start in the second act, erasing the
yep.
first act. You're sitting down there in the pit. You could read a book between now and your next cue, and you're just like,
Yeah. And you know what's what you know what's really annoying? I have had musicians who during the production while the show is still going on, like we're in act 1 scene 3 and I've got players in the back who are erasing their scores and
yes.
we are in this we happen to be in front of the stage where everyone can see us, and at intermission I had to say, dudes, don't erase
Oh,
during while the show is going on. I
right.
mean, it was just do remember the first show I did where we didn't have to do that was Matilda. I MD'd Matilda, 3 or 4
Nice.
years ago, and it was one of the first ones where we didn't actually have to do it. So,
Excellent.
that
Excellent.
was
Now,
nice.
are you a digital guy? Do you like putting it on your iPad and taking it to practice?
I do. And I will say in one of my last videos, I talked about how iPad has really changed the way for me as a collaborative artist. I mean, I am able to carry around an infinite amount of scores on my iPad,
Isn't
and
it the
with the
best?
page turning pedals, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
So for me, yes, I'm absolutely an iPad.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm inclined toward the iPad, but I did Rock of Ages a few years ago, and it was just it was a lot. There's a lot
Yeah,
going on. So I actually did that one out of a printed notebook that I made.
yeah. And I will say, I think it all depends on what I'm having to do. If I'm
Mm,
playing the piano, if I'm just playing keys,
right.
I like to use the pad. If I'm
Same.
conducting and playing keys and I have to run Ableton at the same time, and I've got
Right.
a bunch of different pedals down there at the bottom, some like I did a production of The House on Watch Hill
Mm,
a couple years ago, and I had to do Ableton, which was the first time I ever had to do it, but I did I didn't I used the paper score for that one.
gotcha.
So
Yep.
just because
Absolutely.
it was easier.
And that was the
So,
thing with now that you mention it, that was the thing with Rock of Ages is we had the main stage for it, and
yeah, yeah,
it's a lot to keep up with because in Rock of Ages we're on the stage. I mean, the full '80s,
yeah,
glamour hair and all that. So I'm on the stage trying to hide my laptop because, of course, it wouldn't have been period appropriate.
yeah, yeah,
Um, uh, Directing the band, all of that, and still trying to hit all of these keyboard changes. So I was
yeah,
definitely in a full on, open folio
yeah.
for that.
Oh, that's impressive. Now, I know that you have directed choirs, ensembles, musical theater production for decades.
hmm
What's the first thing you listen for when you step into the rehearsal room?
Hmm. Um, First time or anytime?
Well, let's say you're starting a new production.
New production. Okay. I'm firing one up. We have auditions in July and
Mhm.
we'll start rehearsals in August. The first thing I listen for is I know I should have an answer right there, but I'm such an intuitive person. I begin by listening for the sparkle in a voice. I
Okay,
know that
yeah,
sounds simple, but if I can find what makes that voice unique, unusual, or even help improve it, with the actor or the singer, I'd love to do that. So I like finding what's that special thing about, each person, what's their unique standout quality. Because sometimes we have to tamp that down, right?
Yeah.
For the
Yeah,
ensemble, like this
sure.
this this one soprano over here honking, and nobody else can. Uh,
Right.
but a lot of times, obviously we're gonna feed that thing and pull it up and let it express itself in the character. So
Right.
that's what I'm looking for. My first time in a new rehearsal, I'm looking for who these voices are.
Yeah, and what you can probably get out of them
Yeah,
in a given situation. I think I
right.
I think that I think that's very interesting because, one of the things I hear all the time, Shannon, is that, well, well, they just don't like me, or they have something against me when you go into auditions and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And
Mhm.
the reality of the situation is that being a vocalist and auditioning an actor, vocalist auditioning for a musical or theater, the directors have something specific in mind typically when they're looking for something, and it doesn't mean that they don't like you or that they
Right.
they yeah, I mean, so have you faced that before?
Um, yeah, we had a casting situation where we couldn't find the male lead, and we had a fantastic candidate who could sing through the rafters, but he wasn't, ugh, this is so icky, but you all know how it goes. He wasn't the right body shape and for the character. And we looked and looked and looked, and he sounded so good on the stuff. And we eventually, so we had to have a talk with him of like, we really want you in this role, but you are a non-traditional pick. So, it we had to be very careful to say it's not anything about you that you can
Yeah,
change, the
yeah.
reason why we're looking for this other guy. Um, but and we did wind up using him, and he killed it. It was so
Oh, I'm
good.
sure, yeah,
And
yeah.
it was a non-traditional leading man. It was cool, you know?
And sometimes that works,
Yeah.
sometimes that works.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because men are always the toughest to,
Oh my gosh.
I'm doing a production right now of a new musical that I was fortunate to get hired to write the orchestration for
Oh,
and write the
excellent.
write the accompaniments. So
Yeah.
I'm not MDing this particular one because working on the score was just enough in and of
You don't
itself.
wanna do both, no.
No. So we had a problem, and it's religious about Elizabeth and Mary, and so we had
Mm,
difficulty finding a person to play Zacharias.
right.
And so we ended up getting, someone that I went to school with and some of the other cast members went to school with, um, uh, and
Nice.
but men are hard to find. It took us a long time to find someone to
Yeah.
get that role, so
I tell
it's
you
tough.
what, we had a terrible time casting, in Rock of Ages. Apparently, I've got it on my mind today. Um, Stacy Jacks, which is the protagonist, all the hair, the '80s hair and
Right.
the that '80s voice, but we
Yeah.
we found our guy, but it took extra time and extra work and extra calls and all of that type of thing. And as you said, it's not that we didn't like anybody else who came, but there's there's always that conversation when you're casting, okay, this person can do this, but
Mhm.
is the sparkle there?
Yeah.
Is this person going to carry this show?
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes you
Yeah.
don't know till after you try it.
Yeah. Yeah. So every music director has a non-negotiable something they insist on from their performers. What's yours? And how did it become so central to your process?
Engagement,
Okay.
number 1. If we're sitting in a now, I don't I had never done it this way that I'm gonna tell you about before I worked with the producer that I'm working with now, but we do a full vocal week up front where we learn all of the music,
Yes. Mhm.
and then we have a full choreo week where we learn all of the choreo, while singing it full throttle,
Hmm.
and part of that is for the physical conditioning such that you can get to the end of a show where you're full on dancing the whole entire time and you can still get the words out, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah, it does.
So I have had a couple of instances where people are trying to sit on their cell phones in a rehearsal and they're like, "Well, I'm not singing." And I'm like, "No, you're not singing, but you're in this production. And if you understand what's happening during this scene that doesn't have a whole lot to do with you, it's going to make the show better."
Yes.
Because it's important that you don't just, like, narrow down to your part exclusively.
Hmm.
It's important to understand the whole. And so, obviously, if somebody's not on a song or something, take a break, but, just be engaged and not just don't be distracted. That's my main
Absolutely.
thing.
So you've worked with singers and musicians across a wide range of ages and skill levels.
Mhm.
How do you adapt your directing style to bring out the best in each group? Because working
Mm,
with kids can be a little bit different than working with adults, although
it
not
can.
much different.
Not much. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
I have seen some tantrums in my day. Um, and I haven't worked a lot with kids, so I will say that. I've worked mainly with high school, college age, and adults. I have seen other people work with kids, which is probably the reason I haven't worked with kids much. um, God bless the guys who can wrangle younger kids. I think it's fantastic, and it's not necessarily in my skill set, but to work with, high school, college, and adults, um, there's a thing that happens, I feel like. I mean, we are there to work, make no doubt about it. We mount a show in 4 or 5 weeks and, we're there to work. Um, but I feel that there's sort of an when we're talking about it in the classroom, I call it edutainment.
Sure, sure.
Um, and I bring a little bit of that into the rehearsal room with me in that I've seen some MDs come at it like pretty hardcore and, do what I say, which is great. I mean, they should do what the music director says. That's a good thing. But, some music directors can be very stern and very caught up in the music. And I
Yes.
think that's super important, but you're never going to bully somebody who's off pitch into being on pitch.
Yes.
It's
True.
never going to happen
Yeah.
because the more you come at them with this, the less confident they're going to feel, and pitch continues to go out the window. So I don't like, I want to be everybody's friend. That's not really possible.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Right.
I do try to relate to them and make a little space for a funny joke or,
Uh-huh.
so just being like a human being
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
room, I think. And I'm a little bit different with younger people. I try to be a little funnier, goofier, self-deprecating, whatever brings the smile to the face.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's so much of what of what I do is just situational awareness, I think.
Sure.
Being
Absolutely. Yeah. I
aware of
think
who
so.
you're in the room with, what the mood is,
Right.
if everybody's stressed, I'm not gonna add to that. I'm gonna see what I can do to pull it back down into a calm
Yeah.
a as calm as it can be.
Yeah. And you're not going to get the best performance out of highly
Oh,
stressed individuals.
absolutely not.
No, no. So I think this brings us to another point, because I'm sure that all of us would just love to just have spend full time just music directing to our heart content, but that's just not really the way it works. And so you've built a business that blends branding, media production, curriculum development, and relationship-driven marketing, which I
Mhm.
think is so key because, when I was younger, I wish I developed more relationships, It's not
Yeah.
my strong suit, but I
It's not
wish that I
mine
had done
either.
that.
Excuse me.
How do you balance the artistic side of your work with the operational demands of running a company?
Late nights.
Mm.
That's a flippant answer, of course, but, it's really I personally have to be aware of context switching between the 2 because, I bring sort of I like to look at things in a 40,000-foot view kind of way. I'm good with the overview. I think in systems. And so that's of benefit to the business side and to the musical side. That thinking in systems, thinking how we're going to do this to the greatest advantage of time and space and resources. But where it's a little bit different, I find myself being very analytical in the business stuff, which is something that a music director almost has to be with the music. And yet I use much more of that creative side of my brain. And so,
Mhm, mhm.
when I'm doing music. And so if I do a lot of context switching, I start to get, a little overwhelmed, with too many things, trying to process too many things at once. So I am definitely a time blocker. I'm going to
Mhm.
work on X, Y, and Z from 10 to 12, and I'm going to work on A, B, and C from 2 to 4 or whatever. So for me,
Right.
it's a lot, and it's a lot to keep track of. You know that doing a show has so many details that you have to hang on to from everything from, like, what are your musicians getting paid to, like,
Yep.
wait 2 seconds after this line before you start the segue. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and it's the same in business, managing relationships and people and,
Yeah.
yeah, so I definitely feel the 2 different sides of my brain in that way, and so
Yeah.
bifurcating that really helps me out.
Yeah. And it's interesting because many people probably don't realize people just think that the music director is up there just conducting music, but in reality, we have to work with budgets. We have to do rehearsals. We have to, as you said, talk about cue timing. We have to
Mhm.
determine where we want to make cuts and these different kinds of things. And so
Absolutely.
there's a whole administrative part of being an MD.
Well, yeah. I mean, never mind, getting, W-9s for
Mhm.
musicians and, I it's yeah, there's a whole side of it that, when I was that kid playing flute in the orchestra, I
Yeah.
didn't get it. I thought, "Oh, you just get to do music." It's
Yeah.
so much more than that. The
Very, very
planning
much.
alone and if you've got a really great director that you get to work with, there's all of those artistic discussions as well. How are we treating this character? Are we gonna go the normal route with this? Are we gonna play it more sincere? And how does the music, affect that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I'm very pleased to be in a good situation like that where I have a lot of input. Um, he gives me control of the music, tells me what he
Yeah.
wants,
Right.
but then he's
Yeah.
like, "Whatever you wanna do." So the show that we're getting ready to do is, Footloose, actually. And, it's been around forever and has had a London version and it's one of those multi-version shows.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So right now we're wrangling, the finale. The finale is not what the director wants, and he remembers the one from, like, 2007. So we're trying to track down this 2007 with all the parts and everything, so we think we found it.
Right.
But it still doesn't quite match up with the recording that he choreographed in 2007 that he's
Yeah.
wanting to do again. So there's the challenges that come at us are crazy in terms of from all the way artistic, like a real challenge to figure out how to do this, to all the way administrative, like, if this contract doesn't get signed, you're not gonna have a bass player.
Right. No, no, absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned that you're doing, a week of vocal rehearsals first, and I
Mhm,
really like this idea
mhm.
because I remember, I in shows that I've done in, 10, 15, 20 years ago, they're always together, and so that's a lot of downtime for you. If you're also being the rehearsal pianist, which
Right,
most
man,
of the
yeah.
shows I MD'd, I was always the rehearsal pianist, then I'm just sitting there watching them doing it, so it's a lot of downtime. But this idea, I think the last production I did, we did 2 full solid weeks of music rehearsals,
Wow,
and that
fantastic.
really got, it's so much easier to do it that way,
Yeah,
so kudos
yeah.
that you got that, that's nice.
Yeah, and, I had never done it before the company that I'm working with now, and, I will admit that the first show, I was like, I'm not sure about this. This feels like, I'm not your beast of burden here. Come on, share the love. Take some
Right,
of the
yeah.
responsibility for the first week." Um, but I was quickly proven wrong because when they hit choreo and they already know the songs in their soul, you can't manufacture that after the fact. So I have loved it, and we've done it on every show since then.
Yeah, no, it's great. Now, you've taught thousands of music students across the US and Europe over more than 30 years. What changes in music education, especially online, have most surprised you? And what changes do you think are still coming?
Ah, that is such a deep, rich question. Um, I do teach online. I teach college. I teach at Full Sail University, and when I first started looking at at developing online music programs back in 2010, I guess it was, at the college that I worked at in Memphis, and, we wound up not doing it for 100,000 different reasons. But, one of the significant challenges in 2010 was, like, how can you possibly do music online? And I know that sounds crazy today because we've lived through COVID and we all know how to do Zoom and we can, asynchronously make music together, but at the time, that wasn't really possible. GoToMeeting didn't exist yet that I know of. Um, and so the tools that have come along since then in music education makes it possible to do music education online, for instance. Excuse me. So that's been one big change is just the tech, and I think that's just gonna keep increasing. Um, there's a lot of chatter right now about AI and how it's changing the way we think about things, and, so I wonder about things like that in online music education because the thing that I do notice is that I'm online only. We do have a campus program, but I'm online only. The online students come in without a sense of perspective of what they're getting ready to learn.
Mhm.
And I think that's, I hate to go all societal whatever, but I think that's a little bit of the result of the YouTube economy, which I'm a part of.
Right, yeah,
I'm not hating, but YouTube, allows you to gain knowledge from people who hopefully you can trust, but you don't have anyone sitting with you to say, "Hey, here's the best way to approach this curriculum." Yeah, you can learn that 5 half steps equals this or whatever, cool, or you can learn how to do music, you know?
right, right.
And, so that's been an interesting thing of just watching students come in like, "Oh, I have to read music." And like, "Yes, you do."
Mhm, mhm, yeah.
So that's kind of a big shocker. So I think that's one way that it's changing, or that it has changed, and I just think it's gonna continue to get better and better. Um,
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you. Yeah.
it's just the things that we can do already online are just incredible to this little 1970s kid, like,
Mhm.
I couldn't just look up facts. You just had to
Right.
wonder.
Yeah. Oh, no, 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 no doubt. So that brings to an interesting point, and I think it's from a societal perspective. I think it's something that we've lost. Your work emphasizes conscious creativity, valuing relationships over marketing and partnerships over platforms. And so, how did that philosophy develop, and how does it shape the way you work with your clients today?
That whole thought developed for me around the time of COVID. Obviously, the church shut down. I was a full time church music director then. They didn't close, but we weren't doing services. And I had some experience with graphic design, and a bunch of people needed websites and that type of thing. And so I jumped into a whole second career at that point. So as I'm working with some of these new clients, I realized that there can be a propensity toward doing whatever is cool currently, or whatever is trendy, or let AI do it, and then it all looks the same. I mean, you can spot an AI thumbnail on YouTube from a mile away.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
we can. I use them, guilty as
That's
charged.
as I am not hating.
Yeah,
AI has changed my work life. I am completely serious. The systems that I've been able to write, whoo, it's crazy. Um, but that propensity towards chasing trends and algorithms and marketing funnels and all that stuff, and I find it to be manipulative and gross. And the people that I was working with were these like beautiful, amazing people in their own right. And I found myself, I mentioned earlier, I'm fairly intuitive, and I found myself as I was talking with people about what they wanted their website to do. I was also digging into their, not to sound too cheesy, but kind of digging into their dreams and
sure, yeah.
unpacking things and saying back to them what they're saying to me. And then creating something unique and beautiful out of that for them,
Absolutely.
not for a trend, not for an algorithm. I mean, hopefully I've got the goods to back that up as well, but what comes out of that is something uniquely, um, bespoke,
Mhm.
custom for this person or this company or whatever.
Absolutely.
And, I find that it carries over into everything, business stuff, marketing stuff. When I was younger, I used to hear the phrase, "It's who you know. It's all who you know." And I used to think that meant you had to know, like, the biggest top bigwig
Mm,
guy or whatever. But now I realize that it just means it's all about your relationships,
yeah,
because these opportunities come from these unexpected places, unexpected relationships, unexpected, commonality, if you will. And so, I find that if we can get out of the template of how things should be done, we can go more creative and more full
yeah.
places.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think it's important to for me, one of the reasons why I started the podcast is to share some of the knowledge that I have, and then
Mhm.
also bring folks on who have a depth of experience to
Mm.
hopefully to share. It's not to
Yeah.
chase algorithms or anything like that. It's just
Right.
it might be useful to one person, it might be useful to 100 people, but
Right.
getting the information out there, rely on some of that. So I think that
Absolutely.
those relationships are very important, and
Yeah.
I can't stress enough, it's something that I regret when I was younger, not developing better relationships with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
As I got older, I now realize how important they are because you never know if the person that you're talking to is the power player,
That's right.
so you
That's
have to treat
exactly right.
everyone the same, so
Or if they're gonna become the power player in 10 years.
that's right.
You
That's
know?
right. I mean, people that I went to college with, when I first started in 1991, I had no idea how successful they were going to be, and I
Absolutely.
wish I
I'm
would've, so
I'm constantly floored by these guys, and I had a rough time the first time through college. I came into it not fully prepared, for it, and
Mhm.
so, you know, I wound up leaving college the first time after 5 years, and you all know that, if you're getting a music degree, you're probably there for 5 years, but,
Yep,
uh,
absolutely.
I left after 5 years without graduating because I was so burned out on music, and so I just wanted to get away from that place and just not have anything to do with it anymore. I actually
Yeah,
quit music,
yeah,
and, so just out of my own reaction to what was going on in my life, I lost touch with a lot of those really close relationships that I did have in college.
yeah, yeah,
And I have no doubt that if I showed up at their doorstep right now, they would hug me and we would have a good laugh and a good cry, and it would be amazing. So
yeah,
there's nothing stopping me from rekindling these older relationships other than time and things
yeah,
move on. So
and I
I'm
think that
with you. There's some folks I wish had better contact with.
yeah, and I think that one of the things about the college experiences is that your perception of yourself
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily match what everyone else thought of you
Mhm.
into there. I mean, you may think, "Oh, I was no good," or "I was this or that," or "No one liked me," and in reality, people were there for you, and they liked being around you or whatever. I mean, it's a
Yep.
bizarro world. I mean,
It
it really
is.
it really is.
It is. And
So
and and how we interpret that bizarre world through our own very unique lens of gifting and wounding and, all of that stuff. Um I think sometimes we don't realize how impactful we really are.
yeah,
I think
I
just
think I
humans in general,
I
because
agree.
we're doing our thing day to day. We go to sleep, we wake up, we have breakfast, but in the meantime, we're impacting someone else's life, and that's what it's about,
That's
man.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So music directors often become emotional anchors for their ensembles.
Mhm.
How do you balance musical excellence with the relational and pastoral side of leading a group, whether it be in a musical theater or a ministry environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't know that everybody would understand that there's a pastoral aspect to music directing. Obviously in the church, yes, but even out in the theatrical community, um, people love and are going to be attracted to people who see them,
Mhm.
know them, and care about them. That's all we really want, to know and to be known, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And so I think I try to bring a type of authenticity to it that has served me well across the ages. I'm not necessarily somebody who's going to come in and go, everything's great, if it's not, because people know, you're
Yeah.
not fooling anybody. So I
Right.
would rather have an honest conversation about what's going on, honoring the person that I'm working with in my communication with them.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen, and I have to tell you, very early, I think it was my first music directing experience. I was in my 20s and it was for a church. It wasn't a big thing. It was a thing that we were writing and putting on. And I learned such a big lesson from this moment. There was two cute little old ladies, who were supposed to stand stage left in the corner, and I had told them 2 or 3 times and okay, and now I'm starting to get frustrated because it happens every time.
Right.
And me, I'm so embarrassed to say this. God, I hope everybody has an embarrassing story like this.
We all do.
I, into the microphone from the other side of the sanctuary, went, "Hey, am I speaking English?" I was just like, "Oh my God, did that just come out of my mouth?" And I have never done anything like that again because I was mortified that I had made this horrible comment. Uh,
That's funny because having worked in the church environment for over 20 years, and this may be controversial, but I can say that church environments are some of the most highly politicized environments that you'd ever, and I'm not talking about Democrat,
no,
Republican,
no, no, no,
just
no.
internal church politics. They can be really vicious.
Yeah. I lost my full-time music gig over a political thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and so
so, and it's painful. There's an old phrase, ain't no kind of church like, ain't no kind of hurt like church hurt.
yeah,
And,
yeah, true that.
it's, um, the reality, I'm just gonna say it plainly, is that people are critical and, um, don't understand what goes into just a regular Sunday morning service. I mean, this is, I did this every Sunday for 7 years.
Mhm.
That's a lot of Sundays, y'all. It's a
It
lot of
is.
Sundays to come up with unique programming and materials and be sensitive to what is actually the theme of the day or what's happening
Right.
um so I have found that working in churches can be absolutely delightful and absolutely the most painful, like, put me on the rack kind of,
Yeah.
you know.
There's no doubt. Inquisition time.
Yes, and, I love it when somebody walks up to you on the same day and like, "I didn't like that song we did this morning." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I wasn't aware I was worshiping you, but I'll try to help you next time."
That's so classic. It is so true. It's so true. Speaking in that direction,
Mhm,
you've directed in both, educational and church settings.
mhm.
And what are the biggest difference and unexpected similarities between these two environments?
Between church and theater?
Well, church, education, theater, all of these,
Yeah.
there's things that are gonna be same and things that are gonna be different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, my mind obviously goes to, church and theater. I think
Uh-huh.
because they're
Sure.
so similar in their appearance.
Sure. Yeah.
In other words, you've got people standing on stage singing. So, that obviously has some shared DNA.
Yes.
Um, I find that in churches that political thing can become an issue. I'm very, very lucky on the theatrical side to work with a pro theater. So we have pro singers and actors, which is the first time I did a show with pros, I was just like, you guys sound amazing."
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but, often the singers at the churches are volunteers, and so there has to be, a compassionate hand that goes along with that because, and I've done it too, you can, just crush somebody by accident in the church. Well, any place, but in the church especially, you've got somebody coming out who really wants to share their gifting or maybe it's not a gifting, but they wanna share something.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, uh, and being overly harsh, bringing too high of a bar to the party, like, this person is never gonna sing, "You Raise Me Up" like a professional singer. It's not gonna happen. So, what are our expectations in terms of excellence, and what can we do to kind of bridge that gap and help them get there? Um, now that's similar and different across those two worlds.
Yeah.
Um,
So what do you do? What do you do when you have a singer in the church that just really, really is passionate about it, but they sound like Florence Jenkins? I don't know if you're familiar with who that is.
I'm not, but I can imagine it's not great.
Yeah, so check it out, Florence Jenkins from,
Okay,
they did a movie of her with, I think, Meryl Streep or someone was in the movie, and it's just
awesome.
she was wealthy, couldn't match pitch, doing anything, and so, that's a situation that happens a lot.
Yeah, oh, all the time. And, this is gonna sound a little funny, but I'm just gonna tell the truth here. I cringe when a parishioner or congregation member or anybody walks up to me and goes, "Man, I love to sing. People tell me I sound great." Oh, people, stop lying to them. And the reason it's hard is because you want to support people and you want them to
Yes.
sing. That's your whole job. But, oh, wow.
Just like, "Here's a
Yeah,
tambourine, we'll be doing tambourine," like, this is your calling, your gift.
exactly. Hopefully, if you have rhythm, your job is to hold up this stage okay, anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's tough, and I dealt with one particular one, at the church probably 10 years ago now, but, he was so enthusiastic and so sweet and so wonderful and just wanted to be a part of it, um, and so, I wound up letting him be in the choir and not close to a mic and all that kind of thing. There are things that you accept in a church setting that you wouldn't accept in a theater setting, if that makes sense,
Yes, it does, yeah.
because you've got that ministry aspect to it as well. Now,
Yes.
I've spent plenty of time, with actors crying in the bathroom because, there was one particular one. We were working on basically a sight gag in the choreography, and it was, the guy playing this one character was a smaller guy, and the girl we had cast for the other one was a nice, tall, strapping they were
Mhm.
very different.
Yeah.
And, the gag was he was gonna run into her arms, and she was gonna flip him around during this romantic dance. He just got all in his head and really scared and just didn't take it well and left the room, and I'm kinda looking around like, "Okay, is anybody gonna go, 'Okay, guess I'll do it.'" So I left the piano and went and found him in the bathroom and, "Okay, look, dude, you don't have to do this. We can work it out. You don't have to be scared. You're safe. You're good.
Mhm.
Let's go back in the room. You don't have to do the dance thing. Let's just go back in the room together." And sometimes that's all they need. And he did fine after that.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
If you could give one piece of advice to new or emerging music directors,
Hmm.
what would you want them to understand about the role?
Hmm. Okay, this is gonna sound completely antithetical to everything I've said so far. It's not all about the notes. I mean, yeah, I wanna be able to play every lick perfectly in every show that I MD or in or even just in the orchestra. Um, but if I get all the notes perfect and the cast is miserable because I'm a horrible wench who won't leave them alone, and let them do their thing, then we've missed the point. Um, so I'm not a particularly great piano player. I'm not trained. It's just what I've picked up along the way. Um, and it's not about that. And I had to get over that because I would beat myself up over passages that weren't great and whatever. And the reality is that you're the only one who knows which notes are on the page. And so if you miss a couple of them, I mean, let's not bang away in F sharp major if we're in C. I'm not saying that, but let's not worry so much about the page. Worry more about the people, and you'll get it every time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I'd like to finish up our conversation with a few rapid fire questions.
Geez. Okay.
Okay.
This will be fun.
What's so just rapid fire off the top of the head. No
Okay.
right or wrong answers to these things.
I hope not.
What's the first song you ever fell in love with?
September by Earth, Wind, and Fire back in the day before it got its new
Oh,
resurgence. Well, you know what? Let me back that up. The first song I really fell in love with was the Robin Hood thing, remember, from me laying in bed as a kid?
Yes.
That oodle-lolly golly
Mhm.
what a day, that one was the first song that I fell in love with. I thought it was so cool. And then later on, Earth, Wind, and Fire. My dad was
Yeah.
a DJ, like radio station personality, not
Yeah.
wicked DJ. So I was around music from the very beginning, and that's how I got exposed to Earth, Wind, and Fire in like second grade or whatever it was. But I used to tell this story to my history of popular music class at Full Sail that just like pretending to conduct, sorry, this was supposed to be rapid fire.
That's okay. We're all good.
Oh, and I just lost my own train of thought. That's so dumb.
Did you see the Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary on HBO Max?
No, I haven't seen
It's
it.
good. Check it out.
I'm sure.
It's really pretty good. It's
Well,
really
thank
pretty
you for
good.
that. That actually reminded me what I was going to say. Thanks.
Okay.
Um, just like, the little kid laying in bed pretending they were conducting a choir, I didn't realize at the time how significant this particular, Earth, Wind, and Fire generally, but how significantly this kind of was like a driving force in my life. This first real pop song that I really fell in love with had great vocals, great groove, horns, some orchestration to it. And I found that as I was telling my story to the students, that it's almost like I fell in love with that song because it had the seed of everything that was going to come after.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Next question. Coffee order on the rehearsal day.
An iced pistachio latte, whole milk, add whipped cream from Starbucks. Yeah.
One musical you could direct every year and never get tired of it.
Oh my God, Rock of Ages.
Rock of Ages.
Maybe it feels like it's the only one that I've talked about, but as a kid of the 80s, it's pretty great.
Most underrated instrument in the world.
In the world? Woo, that's a big ask. I'm gonna have to go with bass flute.
Bass flute. Okay.
Bass
Yeah,
flute.
I love that instrument too. That's a great instrument.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
It's got this like low, creepy quality. We should use that in
Yeah.
some tension music or something.
Yeah. A composer you think everyone should study at least once.
Penderecki.
Penderecki. Okay.
Mm-hmm. For the mostly, I think of Threnody for the victims of Hiroshima.
Yeah.
And I'm actually getting ready to do a workshop on this later in the summer. But the use of sound and the idea of using not just music, but sound and instruments to create the emotional impact of something very weighty. He's really great at that.
Absolutely. Very, very weighty.
Hmm.
One word your students or cast would use to describe your directing style.
Specifically music directing, or like specifically with music, or the whole gig like we've been talking about?
Probably the whole gig.
Mm. Authentic. When
Authentic.
it's
Okay.
when it's, uh when it's good, I say it's good. When it's bad, I say it's bad. When it's hard, I say it's hard. You know, I I mentioned this earlier, but I'm not one to come in and try to pep everybody up. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
if we're not having a great day, let's say we're not having a great day and then get out of it together.
Yeah. Um, let's see. A piece of music that always gives you the chills.
Oh gosh. I am a chill listener, so that's actually really hard.
Or is there that one song that you could just listen to on repeat and repeat and repeat?
You know, yes. This is gonna sound a little weird, but My Shot from Hamilton.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just love it. I'm a huge fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda. I think,
Yeah.
his brain is amazing. Um, and there's just so much. I love lyrics and I love rhyme and I love rhythm, and so I actually, my husband is a production music composer, so he writes for,
Mhm.
Discovery Channel and Netflix and all of that, and, when he writes a new hip hop cue, I'll actually rap My Shot over it just to see if
Yeah.
it feels right. So
I will say mine comes from that same musical, and it's Dear Theodosia.
oh, it's the
I just for whatever reason, the music, the words, it's just fabulous. I just
it's
love that song.
it's so tender and so
Yeah.
common to humanity to feel that way. I just got chills, so that we can put that on my chill
Let's
list.
put it, yeah, chill list, yeah.
I also
What
love Wait for It from Hamilton. Wait for
Yeah.
it.
There's so much good
It's
music in there, so much.
powerful.
And
Anyway.
and you know what's interesting about that musical is that every song is a derivative of 4/4.
Mhm.
Every song. So this idea somehow that you have to write in diverse the time signatures and whatever, the whole thing is in 4/4,
Right.
basically.
Come
So
on, and it's like the biggest
yeah,
show to come out of Hollywood. The biggest show to come out of Broadway in
Broadway
years,
in a long time.
and it's all
What's
4/4.
your biggest pet peeve in rehearsal?
People talking when I'm talking.
Okay,
I
yeah.
I cannot I can't do it. It drives me up the wall, and so, whether it's in the classroom or the rehearsal room, the first thing I say is, "Guys, I am here to work hard, play hard with you. There is one," and I just tell them, "There is one thing I just can't take is if I'm trying to talk, I need you to be quiet and listen to what I'm saying, because 'Cause I'm not a talker just for fun. If I'm saying something, it's because I need you to hear it."
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, that would be it.
Alright, last question here. What's the best advice you've ever received as a music director?
Oh, wow. Um, hmm. I'm gonna have to think about that for a minute. I can't believe that I don't have an answer for that, Shane.
Okay.
That's weird. That's a weird answer.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that, when you've been doing it for so long and you've been giving others, it's tough.
It is. I know that I've gotten some great advice along the way. Um, that's kind of embarrassing.
No, no, it yeah,
I
it
don't
it's
think I arrived here by myself, but I will say I've had a lot of hard knocks in my music directing career. And so maybe some of the best advice I got was from working through those situations and learning what can go wrong.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Shannon, that was an incredible conversation. We traversed a lot of material in there, and so if people wanna find out more about Shannon Croft and what you do and where your passion lies, where can we find more out about you?
You know, that's a great question. I actually don't do social media, so I can't point you to my Instagram or anything like that. I do have a website, ShannonKropf.com, but it's very old, but who knows? I may start using it again. My main thing that I'm doing right now is I am the co-owner, co-founder of 52 Qs with my
Mm-hmm.
husband who writes production music. And I'm very involved in that area. So you can always check out 52qs.com and I'll be around.
Okay. And you're allowed to share what musical company you're doing your upcoming Footloose with,
Yes, I'm doing it
if
with
people want to come see it?
TheaterWorks. Yeah, TheaterWorks Florida. We are the first big show in a venue that's reopening called the Garden Theater in Winter Garden. And we're super excited about it. It's going to be a blast. We're doing Footloose. We chose it because it uh, deals with some real things, in terms of relationships and family. And it's such a joyful resolution in that show. So we're super excited to be bringing it. And let's see, opens September 24th, I think.
September 24th.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they
Well,
can find out about that on the TheaterWorks website, which is theaterworksfl.org.
yeah, and I'll have those in the description down below. But Shannon, that was really engaging, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to share some of the knowledge that you have accumulated over these many decades. And hopefully someone in our audience has gotten something out of it that will help them spur them forward in their journey.
Absolutely. I will say for those who are inclined to be music directors, there is a calling to be a music director. It's not just you're a good musician, therefore you're a music director. So I hope that it inspires somebody out there. I just it's a fantastic world to live in. It's so much
Mhm.
hard work and the money is so bad and I love it so much.
Well, that's a great spot to end on. Thank you, Shannon, for
Absolutely.
joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite, Shane.
Absolutely. That was Shannon Kropf. And what a gift of a conversation. Her blend of artistry, intention, and deep care for people she serves is exactly the kind of energy we love bringing to the Jensen Sessions. If today's episode sparked something in you, whether it was about creativity, teaching, or building a brand with heart, share it with someone who needs it. Leave a review, send a message, keep the conversation alive. I'm Shane Jensen. Thanks for spending this time with us. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep creating with purpose.